Greetings, greetings, greetings from my front yard pollinator garden. Yes, I am an urban gardener. Look at the size of that mammoth. Look back over here. We have a monarch here, making me happy. Now, I don't have the best equipment, and that's why I have honestly said for a couple years now that I can't make any videos because I just don't have what it takes and this and that. But I've felt the urge, and I've had people ask me to put out some information over the few plants that I have learned about and their medicinal and nutritional values. My biggest focus, my first focus in life, feeling like a mother to all things, but especially the pollinators. I feel that I'm here to help protect them and promote their, not just survival, but for them to thrive. And it's really interesting that in the country, how much different the butterflies. When I went the other day to look at some property, how much different the butterfly collaring is in the country. And that just tells me that they have that much better of a diet. But again, I'm an urban gardener, and I think that honestly, we are every bit as important, if not more important, than any other gardening. Because it really does kill me when I'm sitting out and I'm watching a pollinator come around and seemingly look for food, and they just can't find anything. It kills me. So there's nothing that makes me happier than coming out and seeing them enjoy the garden that I put in. It's like magic to me. It's now finally starting to really become itself, if that makes any sense, after being here for a couple years. But it's about learning as you grow. That's a big message that I have, is to learn as you grow. Now, I can give you a few tips, and that's what I want to do, as well as putting out there that I really am looking for some acreage, acreage on somebody's property, somebody else's farm, that is organic, or just some property to get in onto. I'm going to need a grant or something like that, and have a total pollination farm. So not just a butterfly farm, but do the full trifecta, which of main pollinators, which are the butterflies, the bees, and the hummingbirds. So I would be planting what is native to my area, my hardiness zone, which to find, that's the first thing you will want to know. In gardening is what hardiness zone are you in. So just Google hardiness zone and maybe put in your zip code, because if you do just by state, West Virginia varies from 5A to 7B, depending on where you're at. So it can really vary, even within the state. So looking that up, and then what are the pollinators, and then what are their host plants. At least for the butterflies, they'll be called a host plant, which means that is the one and only plant or plants that butterfly will leave its eggs on. So you hear with the monarch to put on milkweed, and that's true. Now, the variation might differ depending on where you're at. I have something, I'm disturbing the monarch here, but I have something called butterfly plant, which I'm going to leave you, little fritillaria. I'm going to leave all you guys because they really do. They're really personable, guys. Right there's a little inchworm. I can get very distracted with the pollinators. But I'll bring you back here and show you what I mean with this butterfly plant. It is highly medicinal too. It's also a perennial and it's sprouting up a couple different places. But this is one variation of my area, what is native to my area, that a monarch will lay eggs on, which I'm going to have to look closer. That might be an egg. Don't mind my fingernails. They stay dirty. If it's daytime, they're probably dirty because I'm probably out in my garden. I come out to this garden and go around behind me to the garden out back, pretty much one to another. But yeah, you'll want to keep a very close eye. I'm going to take it just in case. That is one. If you do find an egg, you will want to probably remove it, and I will put a video up on that, but you would place it in a box and provide it some food for when it hatches out of its chrysalis, but just to protect it while it's in its chrysalis. I don't think that is an egg, but I will use what's called Google Lens, which is something else I wanted to share. As a budding gardener, somebody who, just wants to know what plants are, what different plants are, that are, say you're out walking around, or for me it was using it to tell what I had popping up in my garden, because I tried to use a couple different mixtures. We'll get to that. Now that little butterfly that I just pointed out right before I walked over here, its host plant is this stuff, the passion flower, which at least this species, what we have, it has grown like crazy. I never actually even planted any. I had some in containers out here last year, and they really didn't take off like I hoped. I put them along with some lattice, and that just really didn't work out. But a shoot started over there, and I knew this year that I was going to try to prepare for some. And so I put the twine out, and it's just growing like it's still shooting up. There are still places that are just have shot up over the last couple days. Like even this is like over the last 24 hours. I wasn't just here when I looked last. But you've got to constantly train it. That's the only thing, is it's highly trainable, but it will grab on to all of your things. And it has the most beautiful flowers. Unfortunately, I don't have any open at the moment, but I collect these, and these are like gold nuggets to me. This is my favorite plant to work with medicinally, other than the Rose of Sharon, just because the Rose of Sharon heals down to your cells. But this is really good for anxiety, relaxation, can all use that these days, right guys? But this was all an experiment. The morning glories, they wouldn't bloom until they got up a little higher. YouTube was super helpful with that. But I tried to go with a mixture. Oh, Mrs. Monarch, I am back with you. Unless you're a viceroy. You might be a viceroy. That's okay. So yeah, talking about native planting, native. What is native to your area? Not just what looks pretty, tropical flowers, they're great, it's beautiful, but is it going to actually be beneficial in the long run? Yeah, you might get some, make the pollinators happy for a bit, but it's not We really want to reconstruct ours, you know, each one of us has like a little ecosystem or several ecosystems in just the little area that we live. So that's what we really need to restructure is our ecosystems. That's the first place. Start from the ground up, literally, right? But and moving into that, the whole money and just all of that, to combat that energy, the best thing we can be doing is giving back to our Mama Gaia. There's many names for her, but really to help soothe her, which I think everybody is starting to understand that needs to happen. We're supposed to plant what we have taken, but just giving back and putting that energy in and out there is beneficial on so many levels. But okay, so next thing is, if it costs more, is it really better? And I'm here to tell you no. I went with these exotic dahlia seeds, and not one of those made it outside. And now that I understand about the ecosystem and repairing that, I'm kind of glad they didn't, because they're not native to this area. You know, I went with a pollinator mix because last year I found out that there is such a thing that is that's dirt and seed and fertilizer all together. I was like, oh wow, how cool, I'm doing that. Because I tried my hand at zinnias last year, again, in containers, and they did not do well. But they're not meant for the kind of containers I had them in. But instead, when I got to the store and I saw these pollinator mixes that were supposed to be the same thing, I went ahead with that. And I won't throw any shade at that company because it does say that there's a money-back guarantee. I just haven't taken the time to turn it in yet, honestly. But nothing took, like nothing. I think these things are these yellow are the only thing that actually came out of that pollinator mix. So there you go, 2 packs of really rather expensive seeds that did zilch. Now these have an amazing mixture of sunflowers, which I get commented about all the time, especially the sunflowers. People say, oh, your sunflowers are so pretty. And I want to say, what about all the other flowers? But I get it. The sunflowers are pretty striking. There are a real mixture going on. And each one has been exciting to watch bloom because we didn't know, since I bought a mixture, what we would be getting. See there where the birds are eating the seed? I keep catching a yellow finch out here, which I really loved this variation. And my OCD way is I want to deadhead the spent sunflowers, but really they are providing so much seed. That would just be ridiculous. That one's almost completely off. So at this point, I would probably feel okay about eating that. And whatever, I haven't looked up all the things that I can do with sunflowers. But you can see all of them that have already bloomed. They are really getting a lot. That other monarch just flew. Oh, they just flew up over the thing. I wanted to get a little shot of my canna lilies here. They're as tall as me, and I just love how they look after they have bloomed, what they leave. Oh, there goes that monarch or viceroy or whatever it is. I swear it's like trying to get my attention. Okay. Oh, they do. They like attention. I'm assuming it's whatever voltage, like whatever hertz, however many hertz I'm putting out, it somehow draws them. Maybe the gratitude, which is like 532. I looked it up. It's just like, why? Why do they come to me? Why do they? It's very, very, like, especially butterflies. They come around a lot. But anyway, yeah, just because the more expensive the seed does not mean the better. And you don't have to know what you're doing. You don't have to have a lot of time. Look up the things that are going to be hardy in your hardiness zones. You know, I knew sunflowers are rather forgiving when it comes to watering and such. Now, I learned this year that next year to get things that are just even a little bit more symbiotic, that like the same amount of moisture, that like the same amount of nutrients, because that has been a little bit off. Even within the morning glories, the different species of morning glories that I'm growing, there's a difference in them. But then also, yeah, like what you can eat. Again, the zinnias, at least the petals are edible. I'll be looking into all of that even more. But there's a lot of things that are not only edible but medicinal that you would probably never have realized, just like I never did. But I'm going to leave things for the pollinators as long as the season allows. I'm not starving at this point, so I don't need to take them. So yeah, covered. Planting native, figuring out your hardiness zones, and then what are the native pollinators, and then the things that they like, especially having the host plants to the native butterflies available, and then what are the best pollinator plants, just for hardiness zone 7A, etc. Pest control, using nada, using your fingers. I have literally captured the lace the leaf hoppers with a bag. I almost use soapy water to take care of things, you know, but then still be organic. And then you know, I always ask, well, why does something work before I use it? And I figured out, well, it's because it suffocates anything that's in your garden at that moment. That is obviously the opposite of what I want to do. You know, having found caterpillars out here is especially, it's like, there's no way I'm going to try to kill other things just because what? They make my leaves look kind of ugly. Like, they're not really even bothering the plant, and they're not bothering me. This is a very odd looking bee. I keep seeing these. It's not a honeybee, I don't think. It's just a lot of pollen on its belly. But you know, guys, we have changed things so much because of the climate change and just cross-pollination, and, you know, honeybees not being native, but they've been here since like 1820, I believe. But really focusing on what is native and, you know, what will be symbiotic, and just using your own seeds if possible. If not, just because they're more expensive does not mean the better. Use the expensive stuff. Ended up going to Dollar Tree, and I think this was 2 packs of zinnias.